This video is brought to you by Prop Shop. If you're like me, especially during football season, you're always looking for new and exciting ways to bet on the action, and Prop Shop fits that itch for me and then some, because this app is awesome. It's like Tinder for sports betting, and finding the bet that you want to make is so easy, as you can filter anything from stat types, to teams, to specific players. Plus, this app is partners with all the legal sportsbooks in the United States, meaning that you can use free coins in this app to get real money rewards from sportsbooks like DraftKings, FanDuel, and BetMGM. But maybe my favorite thing about this app is the fact that you can track your bets at any time and check what your odds of winning the bet are. So let's say you make an overbet on Josh Allen's total yardage, and it's halftime, and you're wondering what your odds are that the bet hits. Prop Shop will let you know that information right in the app, taking the guesswork and the stress out of the equation. And whether you're playing for coins or real money, the app is free to everyone and is super easy and super fun to use. And now, by using my link in the description, you can win 5,000 coins to start betting and winning real money today. So again, use my link in the description and make Prop Shop your one-stop shop for NFL betting. And now, on with our feature presentation. The year is 2009. And a group of 5 guys are about to take YouTube and the sports world by storm. Tyler Toney, Kobe Cotton, Corey Cotton, Garrett Hilbert, and Cody Jones, 5 friends who went to Texas A&M together, would create Dude Perfect. The premise behind the channel, initially, was simple. It was just 5 guys hanging out and trying trick shots in their backyard. A simple concept done incredibly well. And what started off as just a bunch of friends trying trick shots evolved into one of the biggest YouTube companies of all time. We're talking about a channel that since their creation has amassed 58.3 million subscribers and 15 billion total views. That's billion with a B. And they don't just do trick shots. They do a variety of things, like trying to break other world records, stereotype videos, crazy competitions against each other, and other comedic things. Dude Perfect has been successful at just about everything that they've done, and what started off from incredibly humble beginnings is now this group of 5 guys doing so much more than that, and hanging out with some of the biggest athletes, actors, and celebrities in the world. They got their own TV show on CMT and Nickelodeon. They have gone on multiple nationwide tours, filling arenas all over the country. They're hosting their own cruise. They've unveiled tons of merchandise. They have their own mobile game. And in the works right now is a $100 million HQ specifically designed for them, including a museum, a mini golf course, restaurants, and the crown jewel of it all, a 330-foot trick shot tower allowing fans to try some of the crazy trick shots they've seen in videos. By all accounts, Dude Perfect is absolutely thriving. And I've got absolutely nothing against these guys. In fact, I'm a fan. I remember all the time in middle school, right around 2009 and 2010, coming home from school, turning on ESPN2 to watch Sports Nation, and knowing there was about a 50% chance that the episode would feature some crazy trick shot by them that I had never seen before. Their ability to stay true to themselves and their content while evolving almost flawlessly and expanding and doing things consistent with the brand is impressive, as any creator who's been on this platform for roughly a decade and a half will tell you. And they've stayed out of trouble, producing fun, wholesome, family-friendly content that everyone can enjoy. And while I'm not the fan that I once was back in the day, I will still watch some of their videos when they pop up in my feed. So keep all of that in mind. I really like these guys, their content, and what they stand for. Because this year, when Amazon bought the rights for billions upon billions of dollars for Thursday Night Football, they decided that they were going to go all out and have a variety of broadcasts for people to choose from. Of course, you've got the main broadcast featuring Al Michaels and Kirk Herbstreit, featuring all the bells and whistles of anything you come to expect. However, you've got other options if you want to try something else. You have a Spanish language broadcast. You've got a Prime Vision broadcast with next-gen stats that shows the game at a higher angle and shows the routes that guys are running in real time. And then, from time to time, you'll have the option to watch the broadcast involving Dude Perfect, clearly trying to capitalize on the NFL's desire to appeal to more families, as done through their Nickelodeon broadcasts and their weekly show, NFL Slime Time. Now, they did this Dude Perfect alternate broadcast for their first game of the season, which was the Chiefs-Chargers game in Week 2. I didn't watch it because, to me, it's like going to a brand new pizza place for the first time and ordering the salad. Like, that's not what we were waiting for. I wanted to see the very first main broadcast with Amazon and see how everything got on with that historic occasion. However, with the Dude Perfect broadcast coming back for Week 9's game between the Houston Texans and the Philadelphia Eagles, and with it coming back later in the season when the Buffalo Bills play the New England Patriots on December 1st in Week 13, I figured this was the time to test it out and see what it was all about. I mean, like I said before, I think these guys produce good, family-friendly content. I was pleasantly surprised by how well the Nickelodeon broadcast turned out, to the point where I've reviewed it in each of the past 2 years, and will do so again when it happens this year on Christmas. And you can learn more about my thoughts on that by clicking the card in the upper right corner. And I figured if there was ever a time to test it out, do it for a game that has a very minimal chance at being good. And after watching this broadcast, I can safely say that the Dude Perfect alternate broadcast of Thursday Night Football absolutely sucks. Seriously. I was actually kind of in disbelief of how bad it was. Again, this is coming from someone that likes these guys, and really likes the Nickelodeon alternate broadcast when they do that once a year. And I recognize wholeheartedly that as a recently turned 25-year-old man with no kids, I am very clearly not the target audience for this. They're not trying to get me. They're trying to get families and people in that 9 to 12 age range. But man, even if that was what they were trying to go for, it just doesn't work at all. Because today, we're going to take a deep dive and a completely objective look at this broadcast and how it can be improved and fixed, if it's even possible at all. To start off, the number one thing when creating any piece of content is that you have to ask yourself the all-important question: who is this for? If you don't know who it's for, you might as well be yelling into the void. I ask myself that question with every single video that I make, and I'll tackle scripts in very different ways. If it's an event that people have a general idea about, like a dumb decision made during a primetime game that happened yesterday, versus a random event from the 1960s. You cater to your audience. The problem with the Dude Perfect broadcast is that, quite simply, I don't know who this is for. Think of why people like watching Dude Perfect, generally speaking. It's fast-paced, and it features great trick shots. And this alternate broadcast doesn't feature any of that. It's an incredibly slow-paced affair that doesn't feel the slightest bit authentic, which is a key part of their brand. Whereas the typical competition, like an all-sports golf battle, might take 10 minutes to complete in a video and has all the dead space where nothing's happening taken out, a competition here might take an entire quarter to complete, taking triple the time with the mistakes left in due to the live nature of it, and with the stakes feeling significantly lower. The entire third quarter of this broadcast was spent with the guys, along with Cowboys players CeeDee Lamb and Dak Prescott, doing a three-point shootout. And it would be one thing if this was all they did, and you were essentially watching a Dude Perfect live stream with football in the background. But it's not, because they're also trying to focus on the game itself, since that's the whole point. And what this means is that you've got a jumbled mess where they're trying to do their own thing, the NFL is trying to do its own thing, and the two things do not coexist at all. Take the Nickelodeon broadcast. Everything that happens in that broadcast that makes it appeal to kids and families directly ties in with the mission of getting people to watch the game. From the graphics package, to the commentary with Nickelodeon references sprinkled in, to the slime cannons in the end zone. Here, everything that Dude Perfect tries to do goes directly against getting people to actually watch the game, because you've got a three-point shootout and other things, like punishment and Wheel Unfortunate, taking place as the game is going on, while being on the NFL schedule where they have to cut away if something is happening. Because perhaps the biggest problem with the Dude Perfect broadcast, more than anything else, is the fact that they do not control the structure of the broadcast, meaning that they're at the mercy of what's happening in the game regarding breaks in the action. The Dude Perfect broadcast goes to commercial at the same exact time that the actual broadcast goes to commercial, which means that if there is a funny conversation happening between the guys, or they're trying to do a competition, and the game goes to a commercial break due to an injury, or a TV timeout, or a challenge, or anything like that, they cut to commercial too, completely disrupting the flow of the entire show. I don't know how many of you watching were at the NFL draft this past year in Las Vegas, but on day 3, we saw a prime example of why entertainment at the mercy of a sporting event with an unpredictable time structure does not work. On day 3, because it's a long day, host Scott Hansen, who does an absolutely incredible job and is perfect in every way, will do things to keep the crowd engaged in between picks. The backing band will play songs, he'll ask trivia questions and give away prizes, he'll call up former and current players and do interviews with them. You get the idea. But this past draft, because it was in Vegas, there was a distinctly Vegas feel to it, and some of the people brought up were acts on the strip, like Piff the Magic Dragon and Terry Fader. If you've watched America's Got Talent, you know who these guys are, and you know that they're really good and really funny. The only problem is that every single time a team made a draft pick, because the draft comes first, the acts were operating on the NFL schedule, meaning that when a pick was made, no matter where the act was, they had to pause and stop while the pick got announced. If Terry Fader was in the middle of a song or the middle of his ventriloquism act, or if Piff the Magic Dragon was making a joke with a long build-up, or was in the middle of performing the trick, and a draft pick came in, the act was put on hold.
Yeah, and by the way, I wanted you to know that I had to...
Hey, Terry and Julius?
Yeah.
Guess what?
What?
I know you're both football fans.
Oh, yeah.
The Green Bay Packers have a selection right now.
Let's do it. Let's watch it. Green Bay Packers. You get your second shot. Soon as that waitress gets here, where the hell did she go? Do you know what I mean? Did you really
All
get
right, hey, there's nothing that a New York Giants fan likes better than to interrupt a Cowboy.
Let's do it.
Stand by there, buddy.
Interrupt.
Giants, here we go.
I'm a professional singer. You are, yeah. Can I, okay.
Oh, Cowboy, though, guess what?
Another?
You get to, yeah, another one.
Let's do it.
We're going to do it at the podium right now for the Patriots fans. Where are you at, New England? Matt Araiza is considered to be the greatest punting prospect of the last, some people say, quarter century. Like, he not only is the Ray Guy winner, some people think he's the next Ray Guy. That's an amazing get on day 3 of the NFL draft. Congrats, Buffalo. Julius, you were saying or singing?
Okay, here we go.
You can imagine how jarring and how awkward that was for everyone involved. The entire flow was disrupted. You can't get into a rhythm as a performer, and you can't get invested as an audience member. Imagine if I made a video, and every time I got a Twitter notification on my phone while recording, I would stop wherever I was in my sentence and say it. I'm talking about something that a coach said after a game in 1983. And after the controversial call that cost his team the game, the coach said, "The referee missed that one. You can't have an incompetent official 20 yards away from the play deciding the outcome of the..." Ian Rappaport just tweeted that Rams running back Cam Akers participated in the team's walkthrough this morning. You get how awful that would be, right? Now imagine the Dude Perfect broadcast doing that and being at the mercy of the NFL with commercial breaks. But instead of brief 5-second or 10-second interruptions, it's 2-minute long interruptions where you forget what they were even talking about or doing beforehand. The structure just doesn't lend itself to success at all. And one more thing on commercials. Aside from the fact that they're out of place with the structure of the broadcast, they're out of place with the tone, because they're the exact same commercials airing on the main feed. When Nickelodeon broadcasts their game, you got ads that typically run on Nickelodeon, like products for pet food and toys, promos for upcoming Nickelodeon shows, and fast food commercials. Nickelodeon and CBS had different sets of ads. With this though, because you're getting the same exact commercials airing on the main feed, that means in this family-friendly broadcast, clearly designed for kids and targeted for kids, you've got commercials for Modern Warfare 2, a rated M game, and DraftKings. Why is that the case? The last thing I want to be doing as a parent, if I'm watching this, is tell my 8-year-old that they can't get Modern Warfare, because they're not old enough. You watch this broadcast to avoid those commercials and to not have to have those conversations. You expect age-appropriate products to be advertised. Just really poorly done all the way around, although this is obviously completely out of Dude Perfect's control. The broadcast can be divided up into 3 parts. There is the parts where they're sitting around and watching the football game. There is the parts where they're doing activities. And there's the parts where, for some reason, they're doing absolutely nothing and are filling up time for no reason. Starting with the football part. Look, I'm not expecting high-quality, in-depth analysis from Dude Perfect. I'm not expecting them to be breaking down plays and doing play-by-play where they know all the players on the teams. That's not at all what I'm saying. However, I'm expecting that they have a basic understanding of how football works. And it's tough to say that when just about every single thing that they said was wrong. The few times they actually focused on the game, the stuff they said was so blatantly wrong that I wondered if I was watching a different game. Here are just some examples. In the third quarter, there was one play where an official threw the flag behind the quarterback in the area of holding. If you've watched football, you know that when the back judge throws the flag, it's going to be holding. However, someone was shouting during the play, after the flag came out, that it was a free play.
Birthday, man. Dude Perfect is the boss of TNF. Thank you very much.
Free play, go up!
When, 2 seconds after the ball was snapped, has the back judge ever thrown a flag for offside? Just basic stuff that anyone that's watched football would know, especially when at no point did it ever look like offside. And on 4th and 1, with 1:36 left, someone asked if Jalen Hurts fumbled the ball, even though at no point did he ever let go of it. Again, I'm not expecting analysis. The vibe for the show, for it to work, should be guys just watching the game on their couch and talking. But I'm at least expecting more than this, where they're blatantly wrong, or where they're saying things that insult the intelligence of the viewing audience, which is something that Nickelodeon, even though they were family-oriented, did a very good job of doing by not talking down to their audience and realizing that kids are smarter than you give them credit for. What I mean by that is that at one point in the fourth quarter, with the Texans down 29-17, Ty said that the Texans need to score more points to get back into it. Gee, what a comment. Why didn't I think of that? Then, with 9 minutes left in the fourth quarter, after a play was under review, they were talking about how the play was still under review and had no idea how it was going to go. And as the referee was making his ruling, Ty asked Dak Prescott a question, meaning that the whole conversation was for nothing, because that conversation was happening and you couldn't hear the referee's ruling.
All right, so they're still looking at this catch on the field. They are in absolutely deep thought.
Regular Damian Pierce
Deep thought.
Thank you.
A few moments later.
On this challenge.
Audibly out of it.
You know what I'm saying?
Oh yeah, I did always wonder that. How much does the player play into, hey, we're challenging this? I would say a lot. It does?
Just basic things like that. At the very least, one of them flat out said that they forgot the game was still going on. It's not that hard. Moving on to the activity part. When the competitions and activities aren't hamstrung by time constraints and weird scheduling, they're so boring. That's a problem that I never thought was going to happen with this broadcast. Most of the time, it's just boring. Either the competitions themselves are really long, with no stakes, and with mistakes obviously kept in due to the live nature of it, or the things that they do don't excite anyone. In the fourth quarter, they opened up trading cards, but there were no close-up cameras, so we didn't even get to see what these cards look like. How is that any fun? It's like if you're reading a picture book to your kid's classroom, and you describe what's on the page, but don't show the pictures. That defeats the entire purpose. There was one punishment that involved the loser having to spin in an office chair a few times. Who wants to see that? And the structure of these activities feels somewhat forced at times, which is the last thing you want in a live broadcast. One of the biggest rules in a live broadcast is that you can have a plan of attack, and you should have a plan of attack, but you've got to be ready to adjust on the fly. As an example, you can go into a broadcast not wanting to talk about the backup quarterback on the team, but if the backup has to go into the game because the starter gets hurt, you've got to pivot. Nickelodeon did a good job with that last year, when the Cowboys-Niners game came down to the wire. The tone of the broadcast shifted tremendously during the final 2 minutes as the Cowboys were moving down the field and trying to win it. You didn't hear Noah Eagle and Nate Burleson going on about whether SpongeBob's parents would have approved of that play. And I wonder whether Dude Perfect can do that. They hyped up that in the final 2 minutes of the broadcast, they would spin Wheel Unfortunate, where the loser would get punished. In a blowout, I guess that's fine. But if the game was tied at 20 apiece, you're telling me that they would be doing that? It's just so off-putting. And then, the final part is just absolute filler, where quite literally, nothing is happening. They're sitting on the couch saying nothing, or they're standing at random spots of the studio saying nothing. At one point in the third quarter, they were just shooting jump shots every 30 seconds or so. That was it. You know when you're talking to a buddy on the court, and you've got the ball in your hand, and you'll be in a conversation with them, and just have the urge to shoot the ball every so often? They did that for a solid 5 minutes, where they weren't focused on the game. I just don't see how any part of this broadcast is even the slightest bit appealing to anyone. It feels inauthentic and forced, yet incredibly sloppy at the same time. It doesn't appeal to football fans, it doesn't appeal to Dude Perfect fans, and it doesn't appeal to kids. They're trying to do too much, and wind up doing nothing instead. In other words, the entire broadcast can be summed up by this Ron Swanson quote.
Never half-ass two things. Whole-ass one thing.
However, like I said before, don't get me wrong, I really like Dude Perfect. They seem like genuinely good guys. They're great influences for kids, and they're living the dream. I want to see this work out. The more quality alternate broadcasts that I can choose from, if I don't want to listen to a very clearly in decline Al Michaels, the better. So I want to ask the big question, because there's no point in just complaining. How do we fix this? How can we make the Dude Perfect broadcast actually good? Or at the very least, better than what it is? Well, I feel like the only way this broadcast has a chance at working is if they do something that I'm not sure they even have the power to do. The format is extremely flawed. The only way this works is if they get rid of commercial breaks. I'm serious. No commercials during the Dude Perfect alternate broadcast. You could do picture-in-picture if you absolutely have to, but no complete cutaways. They're on camera for the entire time. What this does is a few things that will go a long way to improve the broadcast. Number one, it allows the guys to have conversations that don't get interrupted by something completely out of their control. If one of the guys is telling a funny story, and during the game, the play clock gets down to 1 second, so the team is forced to take a timeout, this allows us to stay on that conversation and not disrupt the flow. But number two, it allows us to focus on both the game and the competitions. Instead of half focusing on each as things stand right now, resulting in a disjointed product, by staying on the air during commercial breaks, you can have a best of both worlds scenario. During the game, the guys can be sitting on the couch, just talking and saying whatever comes to mind, as you would do when your buddies come over to watch the game with you at your place. And during the breaks, you can have the competitions. As an example, the 3-point competition that was slow-paced and took the entire third quarter to complete, meaning that we couldn't focus on the game for 1 second. Under this, during the first TV timeout of the third quarter, we can have 2 of the guys shooting at the same time via split screen. And during the second TV timeout, we can have the 2 Cowboys players shooting, knowing the score they need to beat. Another bizarre thing about this alternate broadcast is that the halftime show is the same exact halftime show as the main feed for some reason, with the same commercials, the same commentators, and everything. By now keeping the camera on Dude Perfect the whole time, giving them a 15-minute uninterrupted segment where there is no game to worry about, it opens the door for unique things that they can't do now. Like if they want to do a halftime go-kart race around their facility, or want to try spending that time breaking a crazy record, like they do on their show Overtime. Yes, I know they have the current arts and crafts segment called Craft Time Halftime, where they have to draw something and we see what they wind up drawing once we come back to the broadcast. But come on, it doesn't take 15 minutes to draw an NFL logo. You could easily move that to one of the commercial breaks or other end of quarter breaks and miss absolutely nothing. You could move it to the 2-minute warning break at the end of the first half and call it 2-minute drawing if we're spitballing name ideas. Just something to keep in mind. By doing this format, we not only speed up the process to make it more in line with an actual Dude Perfect video, but we allow for the focus to be on the guys and the game when necessary, with no time constraints. And while the guys are watching the game on the couch as it's happening, obviously, I don't expect them to be talking about football the whole 3 hours. I expect it to be a very natural flowing conversation, where you have the guys talking about the game when something exciting happens, but when there are breaks in the action, they'll talk about random things. The vibe I'm going for is a bunch of friends sitting on the couch and talking, and doing wacky things during the break. And while the guys are talking, maybe we could set up some interactive polls to get the audience involved, where you scan a QR code and you're directed to a poll in real time on their Twitter or another website. As an example, let's say, hypothetically, Cody is talking about how he just started playing Christmas music now that it's the start of November, and the guys are debating that. You could have a poll on the screen in real time that allows viewers to vote on whether now is a good time to listen to holiday tunes. Or they're about to do a challenge, like a home run derby, and you can vote on who you think will win, or who you want to win. Maybe in the former, if you correctly pick the winner, you'll be entered to win some Dude Perfect merch. And in a crazy scenario, maybe you could have them do stereotypes where they act as certain characters and do an entire drive as that character. Honestly, there are endless possibilities where I can absolutely see this broadcast working, but it doesn't have a shot in the world in its current format, and it doesn't have a shot at succeeding as long as commercials are in place to interrupt things. Look, there's nothing offensive about this broadcast. They're trying something new, and I commend Amazon for having these alternate broadcasts. This one just isn't working though. It doesn't appeal to football fans, it doesn't seem to appeal to Dude Perfect fans, it doesn't feel authentic to the brand, and it's just a giant mess where they don't know what they're trying to be, and that's the Cardinals' sin in broadcasting. There is potential here. I can't bet against these guys for obvious reasons. They've succeeded at just about everything at every step of the way. But it's going to take a lot to fix this broadcast and the many flaws that come with it. Because right now, the Dude Perfect alternate broadcast is anything but perfect. Get your official Jaguar Gator 9 merchandise by going to jg9shop.com, and be sure to like this video, ring the notification bell, and subscribe down below if you haven't already, as it helps the channel out a lot. And be sure to check out Twitch every Wednesday night at 9 p.m. Eastern for your chance to play NFL trivia and win cash prizes. Link in the description below. If you want to see videos like this condensed down to 60 seconds, then follow me on TikTok at Jaguar Gator 9. To see college football videos, subscribe to Jaguar Gator 8. To see highlight videos of players throughout the history of the NFL, subscribe to JG9 Highlights. Also, special thanks to all of our Patreon supporters for helping out the channel. Your support is greatly appreciated. So you can become a patron and request future video topics in the description below.